Hello everybody, here we are again. So this time that shows on my chest exactly where the camera is. I'm starting from the end of Garland Road where my family lived, and the first view there was of John and Sally Wright's house, who were kind of the first people I got to know as a little boy. Joanne Wright and I were around the same age, and we used to play together a lot in the early 50s. I'm turning on to 341 that goes up towards Warren. We were on Route 202 there for a second. Just for the fun of it, noticing the clouds here, the day today went back and forth between being really, really rainy to being really sunny. And I was sort of worried whether or not it was going to be too bright for most of the time. But luckily, storm clouds came in pretty quickly, and so I didn't get rained on too much, but it did sort of quiet out the sun. I'm going to turn off here onto the Tanner Hill Road. We're going to go up the hill around the corner here. On the left, there's a road that goes off that goes up to Luke Tanner's farm. And the Tanner family have been in Warren. There's properties that they rent from Yale that they've rented for so long that they rent it for 1 shilling a year, which, that's pre-revolution. So this land has been worked by the same family for a very, very long time. Let's see where we're going up here. It's really, really beautiful fields off to the right, and sort of lots of mid-hill forests going on there. This is a wonderful road for riding the motorcycle. It's exciting, and at the same time, some breathtaking views are going to happen almost immediately. So at the top of this ridge here on the left, we're going to stop for a second and look off at Luke Tanner's cornfields and down at his silo. And his farm is on sort of a triangle of 3 sections of road. One that is a dirt road that goes back up into Woodville. And a lot of people come up to the top of this hill and just watch fireworks off in New Milford, which is 12 miles south, but you can see how far away you can see from up here. You can get fireworks from 3 or 4 towns if you sit up here and look. Isn't that amazing? In the fall, this just explodes with color. It's an amazing spot to look at things. There are 2 little houses off on the right here, and you'll notice they have very big windows because that's quite a view to have when you get home from your day's work. So we're going to be following the ridge over towards Lake Waramaug. I said before, when our property in Bantam was the last, the stockade of Bantam, that after that it was Chief Waramaug's land. And we're going to be coming up overlooking Lake Waramaug, which was some of the hunting grounds that Waramaug would go up to. He actually didn't really use the land much north of what's called Lover's Leap on the Housatonic, down on what's now Lake Lillonona in New Milford. So really nice sweeps here. This is just the best kind of riding for the little motorcycle that I'm on. Nice sweeps here. That goes back down to the other Tanner farm down at the bottom of the hill in Warren, which is on 341. But we're following the ridge along that, as I say, is going to come out on the most spectacular view of Lake Waramaug. There are people come from all over the country just to come have a look at what you're about to see. Nice lady with a dog. Beautiful, beautiful fields off on the right, and a spectacularly beautiful house. But here we come. So wait till this opens up for you. Now the people that live in Litchfield County, they know exactly what's coming, because this is one of the most famous views we have in Litchfield County. I think where we're standing right now is just Warren. Oh yeah. Isn't that just the prettiest thing? I'm sorry, I know I say that a lot, but what else are you going to say when you see something like that? So we're going to go down this hill. You see that mountain off on the end? We're going to climb up the back side of that. That's the end of this trip, is going to be going up the back side of Gunn Hill. Really fun riding. I can't even imagine I could have a more perfect motorcycle for doing this kind of rides. I just love what I'm on, because it's got enough get up and go to sort of take you places, but it's light enough that it doesn't have problems on the dirt. Plus it has slightly dirt worthy tires, so that when you're in the gravelly stuff it holds on a little bit. They're not like, you know, motocross tires or anything like that, but at least I can pull myself around on the dirt. So we're coming down onto Route 45, which is the road that goes between New Preston, Connecticut, and Warren. It actually is going to come up into the Tanner's Valley up above here. But we're not going to... So if we were regular tourists, we would turn right now onto the road that goes, the North Shore Road going around the lake. But I'm going to take you up to Curtis Hill, because I want you to see the views from the top looking down at the lake. And so we're going to go up Curtis Hill, which is a little turn coming up here on the left. Isn't that pretty stuff? I like that the same concrete work that's out by my parents' house, the other spot that has it is right there. Those are concrete pylons that were popular in the 1930s when they thought they would fix up the bigger roads, like 45. So here we are going off into the woods. If we were to go up to the right, there's sort of some dirt trails that'll take you into what in Warren is called above all. And both my sons, Ben and Sam, both know how to do that. And you have to really know people to be able to do that. Ben could go riding up through these woods, but I don't know people enough to do that. Plus, I'm not a good enough rider for that kind of thing. So we're going to go up this hill until it opens up into some, sort of pretty farmland. And we're just going to look at it for a second and then come back down part of it. So this is a little bit of a U-turn. I just found this view about 3 months ago, or maybe more like a year ago. I can't remember if I started going up here in the fall last year or the fall the year before. But at any rate, this is new for me, the beautiful views from up here. And again, there are some spectacular properties. I'm trying to be careful not to get too Beverly Hills tour bus. There's some pretty interesting names of residences, and on the whole I'm trying to stay away from that. So right here there's some really, really pretty fields going down, and at the right time of year you can see through all those trees into the lake, and the greening has just gotten good enough that you kind of can't do that yet this time of year. But from this spot I'm going to turn off the motor, I think, And then, isn't that pretty? So we were up on the hill that we're kind of looking at there, a little bit over from it anyway. And it's kind of fun to look back on it. We're going to come down off of Curtis Hill onto Hopkins Road. And Hopkins Vineyard is down below us off to the right. We're going to go down through that. Boy, I came through here the other day, and talk about social distancing. There must have been 100 people at Hopkins Vineyard, and they were all doing a pretty good job of staying away from each other, but I was amazed to see so many cars and so many people in one spot. Okay, so now we're going to be going down the hill towards the vineyard, and off on the right there's a whole hillside of vines, and same off to the left. Down here on the left is where there were all the picnic tables and all sorts of people, and there was some people in a Jaguar convertible talking to somebody else, and it's amazing. I mean, everybody had masks on, don't get me wrong, but I was surprised at how many people were here over the weekend. So, yep, that's the Hopkins Vineyard, and straight ahead, look at that. Hopkins Inn is off there on the right. So, isn't that a pretty view? So, Lake Waramaug is a big lake. It's, I don't know if it's the biggest non-man-made lake in Connecticut, but it's a big one. Anyway, I'm going to be stopping up the way here because there is a view of this lake with, I think they've spent more on preparing the trees than I spent building my house. It's just the most beautiful spot. Okay, here we are. I mean, it looks like, and here is where the President of the United States lives. I can't believe this exists. Look at that. And just look at the trees. I mean, everything's been, groomed again. And that's the view from their house. They must get very tired of people like me stopping and, especially with a motorcycle. Happily, I have a English motorcycle that sounds a little bit like an MG, so it's a country gentleman's motorcycle, as it were. So this is a nice little bit of turns that goes back down to the North Shore Road, and then we'll be going around Lake Waramaug on the main drag that goes around the lake. So we're going to be turning off to the right here. When I was a young man, I went out with a person who her father was the park ranger at the Lake Waramaug State Park. And this particular bit of road, when you date somebody for 2 or 3 years, I could do this piece of road in my sleep. It's sort of a complicated batch of turns, and it's just one of those roads that I know like the back of my hand, and I love doing it. It's one of my favorite little roads to ride, and in the summertime when there are all the people out, you really need to ride this at about 25 miles an hour, because there are so many bodies, there are so many bicycles, there are so many walking on this road, but right now it's pretty quiet. It's just sweep after sweep after sweep. Couldn't be prettier. There's a human. So this used to be a farm that stuck out into the water. There's a peninsula on the left there, and there was nothing there And then something about 1971, 72, they put in a road and just built a lot of very snappy houses on it. But wonderful, wonderful views. So if you went straight after we do these curves, there's a road that goes straight off, and that will take you back into the Kent Hollow. But instead of going down Kent Hollow, we're going to go up to the state park, which is off on the left there. So this corner here, right there, that road going off to the right, that goes back to the Anderson farm, another horse farm. And the interesting thing about this bit of Lake Waramaug, every year the collegiate women's rowing competitions happen here. I don't know if it's the Nationals or the Northeast, but there's a certain moment where buses and buses and buses of college, rowing. I can't remember what you call that kind of boat, but the bus will come with the three, whatever they are, and then you'll see when I get back out on the road. This is sort of a straightaway here from the back corner of the lake that goes for more than 1.5 miles, maybe 2 miles, just straight water. So and this is where the park ranger lived. His house is gone now, but very warm memories of that family. Really, really wonderful people. So this is the state park. Campgrounds are up here on the right. But you'll notice how long and quiet the water is off to our left. So you can imagine people rowing that it was a really perfect spot to do those collegiate races on. It's kind of funny up here, there's a guy sort of interested in me riding the motorcycle. So he's taking a picture of me and I'm taking a movie of him. I thought it was very funny that we were both sort of with cameras doing things. I'm not going to be going all the way around this lake. It's a wonderful ride to do that, but I thought it'd be really exciting to go up through some of the dirt roads back onto the backside of Gunn Hill. So just down here is the Lake Waramaug Country Club, which I remember very fondly for one very snowy moment. I went skiing down the side of the golf course. But that's this hill. There's a very, very nice, right there. Lots of people went tobogganing and really fun. So I'm going to be going off through the woods here. And I should be able to remember what this little road's called, but I don't. It goes back to Floyd Bennett's house, somebody that I went to, 4th grade with and all that. And this road, and if you went up past the country club, both of those go, I think it's Beardsley Road is the road this is going to come out on, and that goes back up to the Anderson farm again in Kent Hollow. So this is sort of a connector between Kent Hollow and the backside of Lake Waramaug. It's a very cool, quick way. You can get from Marbledale and New Preston to the backside of Lake Waramaug sort of faster doing this than going around the lake. It's I think I measured it once. It's like 2.5 miles from where I went on the dirt there to being at the gas station in Marbledale. So here's part of Beardsley Road, and up the way, that's Floyd Bennett's house. Up the way from here, I'm going to be turning up to the left here, and this is a piece of road that is just, it's another one of those, let's have some fun. Kind of steep, gravelly, very bumpy, and I'm having a lot of fun. I'm having a lot of fun right here. Even with this Triumph Scrambler, I got some bigger foot pegs that have real grips on them, because when you're bouncing around on that stuff and standing up, you want your feet to be steady. So when we get to the top of this hill, we're going to be coming up on Jeannie Shinisky's farm. The Shinisky family were another ones that had a long-term family farm in Washington, and this again, you're going to start noticing this land getting pretty fancy. I know one of the Rolling Stones rented one of the mansions up here, but there's the farm, and this bit of road is just the most beautiful thing. I'll come up here and take pictures of the leaves, when it's the coloring time in the autumn. At the top of this hill, we're going to be coming up on the Stone Church, New Preston Stone Church, at the top of New Preston Hill, and sort of its claim to fame, besides anything else, it's very, very good acoustics inside. But across the street from it, the parsonage from that, isn't that a beautiful church? Anyway, the stone parsonage across the street was a property that Bill Blass bought, the clothes designer. So for years and years we had, this wonderful. It was funny. He would go around, to the antique stores and stuff. And I think it was a Chrysler. He had an old, kind of a woody station wagon that was, 20 years older than everything else, and kind of a boat. And nobody knew who he was, except for the people that knew who he was. But isn't that a beautiful thing? And I'm just going to look across the street at Glass's place. Of course, it's extremely well taken care of. Sold. I think down the way from, I shouldn't do it, but Joan Rivers lived down the way there, the comedian, and I'll leave that stuff alone. Bashcrofts were off here on the right. They had all of the land coming down this hill. There was Peter Bashcroft and his family were friends, and all of their barns were pink. I mean, that's the thing we all remember about New Preston Hill, is all the property that belonged to the Bashcrofts. They had pink barns. I don't know why. They just did. And I love the view from this hill. I stopped just to take a picture of that. And of course there's some, snappy, I don't know if it's miniature horses or they're doing something up on that property now. Very nice people. I don't know them very well. I've sold them some pots. Nice thing about being a potter making things for estates is you get to see all these beautiful properties. But isn't that just the prettiest view? So that's the backside of that hill I was sort of pointing at, saying we were going to be going up over that. I guess we didn't quite go over that. We went behind it. So we're going to be coming down into New Preston proper. So the kids around Washington either went to the primary school over in Washington Depot, but about half of us went to school in New Preston. And I have very warm memories of 1st to 4th grade, just down the hill here. If I went straight down the hill, it would take you right to the what was the old firehouse and became the boys' club. But I thought it would be kind of fun to turn off and show where the little school was, and then where the main congregational church for New Preston was, which I went there once or twice with some family friends. Chris McPherson. I went to the church in New Preston once with Chris McPherson and his family. So that's a memory. So I thought if I pulled in here, I'd be able to take a picture of the church. And very nicely, there's two Two guys down there talking to each other with masks on. Very happy for them. This isn't a great view of the church from here, but the thing that I remember most about my first year in school was the whole time I was in school that there was a man painting the outside of that church, and there came a moment when he was with ropes going up to the top of the spire with a pail and a when he was just painting away up there. And I just, at age 6, I just couldn't believe that there was somebody up on the top of that spire. Spire. Is that what you call it? It's scary. It's one of those things when something scares you when you're a kid, you just don't ever lose it. So we're going to be coming down the hill here and crossing the Aspetuck, which is the water that leaves Lake Waramaug. There's a beautiful falls. We're coming out right at New Preston Falls, which is right there. You can't see it. And that's the back of the gas station that's now a nice store. That was Dollar's Garage when I was a kid. And then Mr. Jessen's package store is next door. Oh yeah, I remember. I thought I really should show New Preston. So I'm going to turn up towards the firehouse, which, like I say, was the boys' club. So that white building has been all fixed up lately. And when we were kids, that was the boys' club. People played basketball in there. So behind all these buildings is the Aspetuck River. And Cheryl had a sandwich shop in there. And this, when I was a kid, was Washington Supply had a New Preston Supply part of the store. And that was the drugstore, gas station, package store, and Zinnick's Market. That's where everybody... and the post office was in there. And a little bit earlier than us, on the left there, was a blacksmith shop. So kind of the coolest part, I could have turned off the camera here, but I wanted to go up and just show everybody where, as I said, 1780, George Washington came down from Litchfield, and he never said exactly where he was, but the next morning after wherever he was, he stopped at Squire Coggswell's inn for breakfast. And I have this whole idea that Washington's head of spies was about 12 miles north of here. So there's no conversation about where he was for a day before. But when he puts in his diary, he says, I had breakfast at that house. Breakfasted at Squire Coggswell's. So I think that's pretty much it. I'm going to just go up all the old road, the old Litchfield Turnpike, all the way along is called Christian Street. So I'm going to end this video up at where this bit of Christian Street goes back onto 202. The driving on 202 is, it's okay, but it's not exciting like this. So okay, everybody. Thanks for the visit.